there another link to it? Oh, this one. There we go, that's better. Okay, so today we're covering section 3 and 4. Connect with your market and define your value. These are not mutually exclusive. It's basically like what we're gonna like focus on. Did you send Devin and Aaron some Calabasas properties?
No.
Did they ask you about it?
No.
Okay, connect with them. They've got a buyer looking for some single family rentals.
Is that the one, the buyer we were talking about last week or Monday?
No, it's their buyer, their client, not mine.
They were just asking you about it?
Yeah, I said, you had some good questions, and I said, yeah, I would look in Calabasas, because they said their client's criteria, got a client in exchange. So we're gonna walk through that a little bit more to kind of double down on the Calabasas property. Because being able to define your value is something that we sort of like touched on at the end. But they've got an exchange client in single family looking for something more like 5,000 per million is like his metric. So if you recall, the Calabasas properties were like 8,000, 8,500 for 2 million.
Yeah.
So like closer, little, like kind of close. So we're gonna talk about a lease listing that I have right now. And we just got an offer in it last night. And that client is a single family rental, different client than this lead that we're still working on. But I'll talk to you about this actual property that we have. I'm gonna walk you guys through what the cash flow analysis looks like for this. It's a much worse ratio than we saw in Calabasas, or that you would find in Hermosa Beach, or that you would find in South Pasadena, because it's right here in LA. So you're gonna pay a lot more purchase price in comparison to less and less rent. I also said that as the purchase price or the value of the property gets higher and higher and higher for single family, then the rent that you can collect by comparison goes down, 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 down. By example, you might have like a $8 million home getting 20,000, 22,000 a month in rent. But on those same metrics, right, we should be getting at least double that, right? So let me actually like write this down. But Devin and Aaron are some heavy hitters in the office. They've got a buyer who they said is looking for about 5,000 per month. About 5,000 per month for every million. So let's like say this is actually 60,000 a year. And we're just talking about gross, right? In multifamily, this is referred to as a gross rent multiplier. You could call it the same thing for single family. It's just not a common statistic that people use. But if we say that this client's looking for 60,000 a year gross on a million, let's calculate what this gross rent multiplier actually looks like, right? So someone give me 1 million divided by 60,000. $16 2/3, right? So it's a 16.67 is going to be our gross rent multiplier. So the gross rent multiplier, you just take the gross rent, right? You divide that by the purchase price, and that gives you this gross rent multiplier. So the higher this number is, right, then the lower the ratio is between the gross rent that you collect and the purchase price of the home. And I'll show you an actual example real quick. So this would be the metric to just double down on what we talked about on Monday about like Calabasas rents and the rents compared to the purchase price. Let's find a really good multifamily one real quick.
So it's the property price divided by the yearly rent.
The yearly rent. That's it. So in multifamily, they'll use gross rent multiplier in conjunction with cap rate. The difference is cap rate's the net income that you get over the course of the year divided by the purchase price. Right? The gross rent multiplier is just the annual gross rent, top line revenue, right, that you get divided by the purchase price. So GRM has nothing to do with your expenses. Right?
Okay.
This-
Cap rate is net minus expenses.
Yep. So in this scenario, if we were to calculate the cap rate, we're gonna take this $60,000. We're gonna subtract our 3 net expenses, right? And those are gonna be taxes, insurance, and common area maintenance. So in retail, we call this triple net. If you buy student housing or something like that, a lot of times you can find triple net leases also. It just means that the tenant has to pick up all of these expenses. Okay? So for our cap rate, we've got 60 grand a year in gross income, right? We're gonna take the taxes out. We're gonna ballpark this for today's sake to be about 1.25%. Who wants to tell me what that is? Yep, so what's the number? $750?
Wait, 1.25% of 60,000?
Sorry, our $1 million. Our purchase, the value now, or the assessed value, we would say.
12,500.
Okay. Okay, what should we use for insurance? On $1 million home? I'm gonna say it's probably $2,200. And remember in Calabasas, your fire insurance is gonna be super high. Right, you might have mountain lion insurance, you brought up last time. So let's say it's gonna be about 2,200. And then what are we gonna put in here for, what's referred to as common area maintenance, which is maintenance for the property. So in single family, we said that typically the tenant's gonna pay for water, right? The landlord's gonna pay for gardening. Right? So, because we can't really like separate out the cost of the water for the building, the cost, but we don't, as a single family landlord, we don't want the tenants to not water our yard and all the plants because they'll die. Right? But it's a big ask to ask the tenants to take good care of it. So landlords typically, like 9 times out of 10, will pay for the landscaper and the tenant pays for the water. If you're signing a residential lease listing agreement or you're signing a residential lease, these are actual check boxes. It's binary. Is the tenant gonna cover the landscaping or is the landlord? Is the tenant gonna pay for all, is going to be responsible for watering the landscaping, or is the landlord? That's in the residential lease. It's actually like boxes that you have to check because over time, so many yards died, people didn't take care of the landscaping the way they wanted, you got this big tree infringing on the neighbor's fence. Now you want your tenant to hire someone to get on a ladder and cut this all down. It's all very expensive. Like, are they gonna do a good job? Are they gonna do a bad job? So more times than not, the landlord handles the landscaping and the tenant handles the water. But in this, so we're gonna have landscaping. Okay, if we're in LA City, then they're probably gonna deal with trash, right? Just the same, that's all gonna get baked into LADWP. The tenant's gonna cover the utilities. What other costs might we have associated with being a landlord? You own a single family rental, what are things that you have to pay for other than landscaping? Yep, plumbing is a popular one. That comes up.
What about like if the place has a pool or something?
Yep, maintenance for the pool is gonna be on the landlord typically. Okay, appliances. And repair is usually on the landlord. HVAC, all that stuff, let's call it HVAC, roof. And what are other things that landlords have to pay for a single family rental? What about when it's empty? Then what happens?
Have to pay for,
Cleaning,
the apartment.
okay, what else do they have to pay for?
Agents.
That's right. Commissions. How much commission do you typically charge for a lease? 6%, yeah. What if you got 5 or 6 of them? You know, what's another cost that a single family landlord is probably gonna have in here? Say he's got, yeah, property manager. So we're gonna take all these things and put them in here, and I'm gonna say, assuming we don't have to like replace the air conditioner, we don't have to do anything major. And $1 million home, I'd probably pencil out $6,000.
Management companies usually how many percent?
Totally depends, but I'd probably say like 5 for your underwriting purposes. Usually, you should get 5% of the gross rent that's collected. That's about what they charge. Okay. Let's say everything's in pretty good shape. We had this for a long time, right? And we're gonna end up at $6,000 a year, right? Because we're managing this ourselves. Right? We gotta pay commissions, whatever. Let's just say that this is the fact, because we're talking about cap rate versus GRM. Then we're at 12,500. So our expenses are 8,200, 12,500. So our expenses, drum roll, come to what?
Or 25.
82,
20,000.
2,000, 20,700, right? Okay, so what's our net operating income in this single family example? How much?
Did you, percentage or, yeah,
39,300 in this example. Now, we're gonna find out that our expenses annually are a lot higher than this, but just for today's example, right? So then how do we solve for the cap rate? We're gonna take 39,300 and divide it by the value of the purchase price of the home. So how much is this? 39,300 divided by 0.03. Okay, so it's 3, okay, 3.9?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's 3.9%. So our cap rate in our very fake example is 3.9%. This would actually be amazing for a single family home. We're gonna go through this lease listing that I have, because we're gonna try and position the seller and say like, hey, now's the time to actually sell this, and I'll walk you guys through that scenario and that example, because really like being able to define your value is an important part, and we're gonna talk about that like a little bit today. We're gonna talk about connecting with your market. I said when I started that these are not mutually exclusive, but the biggest part is that you need to also be able to articulate your value. The most difficult thing in real estate is getting your clients to understand how much work, how much time, how much energy you've put into your career so far, into your own personal development, and into each of these opportunities, right? So we have still our Nick Saban chart for all the football people. We have below average, right? We have average, we have good, we have great, and then we have elite. I don't come across too many people that do both, give what I would consider to be elite level of customer service and can articulate that level of customer service. Question?
Do you find people that are good but articulate so well that they become great or elite?
100%. I would say that's more the norm for really successful agents. I think there's a overwhelming percentage of people that do very good, like a lot of good or a lot of average work, but articulate it in such a way that the service feels elite.
Yeah.
You know,
Is that the goal?
that should not be the goal. The goal, I think, should be to do an elite level of service. The hard part is that people that are more this position are not your like wheelers and dealers, silver tongue salespeople. The people that are willing to commit a little bit more time and energy to the details. Some of that I think is like your disposition or your upbringing. I think you can get like some nature versus nurture without getting into it too much. I think some people naturally are drawn to spending much more time in the weeds and in the details than in the like marketing, promotion type of stuff. I'm much more like that type of a person, right? Like I try to give like such a different level of service that drives my business. But it's a shortcoming of mine that I don't do marketing and prospecting and stuff like that like I used to. So good question. But I think the people that really do all the work themselves, and it's very, very good work, are typically like not that great at articulating it, right? And so I said like my background was, I come from a commercial or investment background where at Marcus and Millichap, they take people that have finance and real estate degrees. They are super selective in their process, and they hope that they can teach those people sales, right? They take a brains, people that come from a specific type of background that lend themselves to more like financial conversations. They're very, they turn down probably like 70 to 80% of the people that they interview. And on the way other end of the spectrum, you have brokerages that are more like Keller Williams, that take people that are outgoing, people with history of sales experience or come from different backgrounds and diverse opportunities, and they try to teach you real estate. So I think more times than not, a lot of agents in the residential community are really good articulators. They're really good salespeople. They're like excellent at networking and prospecting and marketing, but they lack like some of the underlying fundamentals. And I see stories every day and every week where it bites them. There's an agent in a Keller Williams office close by, not this one, who's got a listing on the market in Venice, $2.8 million. And she has like invested all this money and tried to do all these different things with this listing. And she got the listing maybe in some way, shape, or form because she's like $1 million more than everybody else. She just thought, well, the price per square foot means like I could probably sell it for this, right? But she's $1 million off of where all the investors are because she didn't take the time and energy to do really, really, really good work. I think she probably got the lead through a relationship or some way, shape, or form. But if she would have done really, really good work, she wouldn't be wasting so much time on this opportunity. Because now she's wasting a lot of time. And I think the listing's probably going to die. And then some person who didn't get the listing that is going to understand a little bit more about the pros and cons of that property, it's probably going to come and end up ultimately closing it.
Is it overpriced?
It's $1 million overpriced. Yeah. And now they're trying to work backwards. That's what happens a lot. You want to avoid that as much as you can. But there is a large percentage of the population in the industry that will take that overpriced listing and hope that those sellers come down to meet the market and they can get a big check. There's a lot of agents are willing to do that, right? Remember I said what's that?
What is the right way to do if you think that seller out of market?
I'm gonna say when you're brand new, take the listing. You have nothing to lose. It's not a waste of your time yet. You're gonna learn things in that listing. You're gonna get exposed to a different marketplace. You're gonna practice having conversations, tough conversations, albeit with investors, or buyers, or sellers, and other agents. But what I said on Monday still holds true, is that once your career gets to a certain point, you're gonna run out of time to be a lead at all of it. The time is the biggest barrier to your success as an agent. Your willingness to do all the work and the education, the research, and all that other stuff, in conjunction with the self-promotion, the marketing, the prospecting, the door knocking, all those other things, right? When agents plateau in their business, and even very good ones that have been doing it a very long time, there are a lot of agents at this office, Keller Williams, or agents at Hilton Highland, there's lots of agents other places I know. Seems like the very good ones that have been doing it for a long time, everyone still kind of gets stuck on a certain number of listings that you can manage and maintain, and how much prospecting you can do. So balancing it is an important piece. For me and my type of clientele in my business, I spend what like my coach or mentor would tell me is like too much time on every deal. But I sort of have this experience of spending the time is how I got the deal, and now the deal is going to close. So, you know, I'm battling with my coach about that all the time. So cap rate 3.9. I said this is crazy for a single family rental. We're going to get into this one opportunity here, right? It's going to be my best example for how you can connect with your market, how you can define your value, right? Because this client, or actually I said I'm going to show you a GRM real fast, didn't I? Let's do that. So you can see what this like looks like. This would be a duplex, it's really messy, same for that one. There we go. So here we got an 11-unit building in Beverly Hills. Everyone wants to sell that, that'd be great. $4.25 million. Down here, we see the gross rent multiplier, 19.33. That's what it was when it first hit the market at 4.875. I happen to know this agent. It's a guy that was working with me at Marcus Millichap, named Josh Flex. He's at CBRE now. Very successful, sold a lot, like probably $1 billion worth of multifamilies, not like any exaggeration. And we see this GRM here. So we see this is the metric, right? Purchase price divided by gross rent. Cap rate, purchase price effectively divided by your net operating income. Right? That's why we're going to see cap rates in the 1, 2s, 3s, 4s for properties, and GRMs in the 16, 18, 19, 20 range. So connecting with your market. This is really tough to do in Beverly Hills because some of you guys, your market might be in Glendale, you might be in Venice, it might be South LA, it might be the Valley, right? All these markets are totally different. Right? It's unique to Los Angeles and New York that in your immediate area around your market center, you can have a $20 million home and a $1.5 million home. And they're not really that far apart. So when you have an opportunity to go win business, I'm about to close that door. Yep. Yep. Okay.
Sorry.
So when you have an opportunity to win business, or if you're farming a territory, then connect with your market is something that you have to do. But like, I really think like this is synonymous with not like really generating leads or driving leads. It's when you first get started, or even when you're, or even if you're just getting started in a new territory. Like I've done some business in the South Bay in the last couple of years. Like I spent a lot of time out there. Right. So connecting with your market means, yeah, going to open houses, It should mean door knocking. You should be databasing developers in the area, flippers, talking to agents, and talking to vendors in that area. This is all really just like education. This is research that you guys should be doing. And I'll talk to you a little bit about Beverlywood, where this home is. But when you go to connect with your market, I think this is really just synonymous with having 20 conversations. So if you're talking to friends and family in your market, one place to start, okay, your sphere of influence. I'm gonna say is even different than your group of friends and family. There'd be people that like, you might consider a friend, or that you might like, you know, say it's like your friend, but it's not like one of your tight friends. This person's not like in your wedding, but it's like a good friend of a friend, and someone that you see around all the time, and acquaintance. And we're gonna call those people your sphere of influence. And I'm gonna say you really should focus on developing people in your level 1 sphere. And then your level 2 sphere. So what I mean is, my best friend's really good friend that I see all the time, I'm not gonna call them like really friends and family, but I'm gonna say that person's inside of my sphere. I think that I have a close enough relationship with that person that if they know I'm in real estate, that like they might consider me. Right? But what we wanna do is get one level outside of the people in your sphere. So these would be like more like light acquaintances. Right? And your goal, next week you guys are gonna learn all about like leads and database and like how to build out and develop that. But connecting with your market and getting to know it, I think it's 100% about having these conversations. How many conversations you need to have? Like all the metrics and everything, Keller Williams says like 20 conversations a week. If you shoot for 3 a day, it should be a really good place to start. This sounds like a lot. If you go to Broker's Caravan, you go to Broker's Open, you should be able to do 3 with the agents and those listing agents a week. Super simple, right? Don't set the goal for these 20 conversations to be people that you have never come across before, that you don't know, that like, you know, start easy. So talk to your parents, talk to your friends that own property, have a conversation with them. You go to a house party at someone's place, you go out to eat, do whatever. Try to talk to your waiter about real estate. Not whether or not they should use you and give them your business card, but just see like where they're at, what they pay in rent. Like you want to be deliberate about having these 20 conversations. If you having 20 conversations a week in a certain geographical area, then you're going to get to know a lot about your market really quickly. So let's take a look at this home in Beverlywood. I manage this with my partner, Sammy. Sammy and I went to this property. These clients, we sold one home in Beverlywood on Montemar. You guys, can you kind of see that? Just like one cross street over, basically, from where this house is. And it's kind of a weird story. We sold the home on Montemar for some clients, and those clients were relocating to Las Vegas. On the plane to Vegas, they talked to another person who lived in LA, the owner of this home on Glenville, and they said, well, we've got these really good agents. You know, if you guys are going to sell your home in LA, you know, and move to Vegas full time, these are the agents that you should use. So this client became like a level 2 client for us. I didn't know the sellers on Montemar. My partner Sammy didn't know those sellers on Montemar, but we did a good job with them and they referred us to this client, right? So we showed up and we were like the 6th brokers that day for this listing presentation. You know, like big agents, big names, people that have been in that community for a really long time. And we were literally last. And Sammy, at the time, had only been in real estate for like a year. I'd only been doing residential stuff for maybe 2 years at the time. So we're like, oh, we didn't know this was a listing presentation. But we showed up and these really well put together people, like head to toe suits and material and all this stuff came walking out. We were like, oh man, we weren't really that prepared for this. So we had a little bit of a hurdle to overcome with knowing the market. Because all of these other agents and brokers had known these people for years. These clients have lived in this home for a really long time. And we're like, we're dead in the water coming into this, right? Well, it turned out that we were the only agents who said, now's actually not the best time for you to sell. The reason for that is that they have really, really low basis in this property. Meaning that if those clients sold that property, they were gonna have to pay some capital gain to the government. So all the other agents, all 5 of these groups that came before said, yeah, you should sell it. We think it's worth this. We'll do a drone video. We're gonna XYZ. This is what we do. We've sold 400 homes in Beverlywood. Our TikTok and Instagram accounts have hundreds of thousands of followers. We have international clients that relocate from New York to LA. This is what we do. And we said, we actually don't think you should sell at all. And they were kind of like, well, why is that? I said, it's because you bought the home so long ago. And right here, we see this assessed value is $1,327,000. How is the assessed value calculated? Who knows that?
Square footage.
No.
No, this is when they bought, at that moment, assessment, that they kind of stick with the home.
You're getting there. You're looking like you know the answer. What's that? Not through an appraisal. So when a property changes title, right, from person to person, not if it's transferred into a trust, the taxes are reassessed at that sale price. Because, so what's happening right now is in the year 2022, right, we see the city of LA is going to charge our clients the 1.25%, their property taxes on $1.327731 million.
So if it's the last day of the sale, that could be 10 years ago, you'll still get check tax at that rate.
And then, so it's transferred at sale, and then there's a 3% increase every single year.
Yeah, so the value goes up.
So the value goes up, right? Nikki's right, the value goes up, but not at the same rate that the value of this real estate has gone up in that time.
Yeah.
Right? So this home's just south of Pico. And so it's like if we would have gone just north of Olympic on the other side, we're in Beverly Hills. And it's a big old house. 6 beds, 6 bath, 4,952 square feet, plus 1,000 square foot finished basement with an office built out with a bathroom and a movie theater. We think that this 5,000 square foot property is worth $1.3 million.
No.
No.
It went up.
It's totally gone up. And it's gone up at a lot faster rate than the property taxes have. So this is a common conversation Okay, here's our master bath. Does this look like a $1.3 million home? No way,
Not really.
not at all. Got underground parking, 3-car garage, on top of the basement, like, this is probably a $4.4 million home, but they're paying property taxes on 1.37. So when people in Los Angeles, and this is specific to California, if you bought a home in Texas, every year it gets reassessed at some calculation to make it about the same. Same for Florida, same for Tennessee, same for some of these other states. One thing that's particular to California, go ahead.
Why, the reason why they're trying to sell.
It's because they're moving to Vegas, right? And they're gonna move to Israel. So they said, well, we need to sell this. And all the other agents that argued about how much they would sell it for and what they would do and how that would work.
Maybe they suggest need money.
They don't need the money, but that would be a good reason to sell typically. Most people sell their home because they need that capital to go buy their next home. That's like the whole term starter home is what you can afford to start. And then when you go into your forever home, which is maybe 1 or 2 homes after your starter home, you're gonna use all that capital to get more leverage to get the house really, really, right? These people didn't need the money, not even a little bit, right? But we said you shouldn't sell at all because your property tax basis is really low. So in our single family rental calculation, we said like, hey, you know, if someone else bought this as a rental, they're gonna have to pay the property taxes on 4.4. But since your expenses are gonna be really low, you've lived here for a long time, you've taken excellent care of the home, it's recently remodeled, your property taxes, part of your expense is gonna be really, really low. We think you can rent it for a good number. Plus, if you only rent it for 1 year and you're not gonna be here anyways, and you don't need the money, then we can do a 1031 exchange when it's time for you to sell, and you can avoid the capital gain. So these clients,
You allowed to do
1031,
yeah, after some particular amount of years.
it takes at least 1 calendar year where it's been used for investment purposes. If you do a 1031 exchange with a single family rental and go get another property, you have to wait at least 2 years if you try to move into the new one you bought. So we didn't feel like we had a really good opportunity to secure this listing compared to all the other groups and agents that they were talking to. Right? I didn't have the experience in Beverlywood. Sammy didn't have the experience in Beverlywood. We had a pretty good idea of what he thought it was worth. We only even got our foot in the door because we got referred by the other clients that we sold their home for. But the value that we provided to this person ultimately helped us land them as clients. Right? So maybe, or not maybe, 100%, we could have showed up more prepared. I probably could have shaved, we had no materials, we had nothing with us, right? I was not prepared. But our value was, hey, listen, we have a better option for you than what our competition is telling you to do. Our competition has their best interests in mind here. Some of them probably said you could sell it off market without, taking it out to market and doing the open houses. That's never how you achieve the highest price. You always achieve the highest price and best terms by going to market. So investors always try to buy off market and then sell on market, always. Yes.
My question is, if they do not need money, what the next step? Okay, we're gonna use this program. And what they should buy rental property because it's rental to rental.
Yep.
Not rental to residential.
It could be rental to residential, so just like super fast, 1031 exchange. People have this common misconception that of a like kind property means I've got to go from a big single family rental into another single family rental. You don't. It has to be real estate held for investment purposes. So you have clients, you ever come across someone selling land, selling their house, selling something, selling any piece of real estate, if they've got all this equity in it, right? It's 19 times out of 20, probably a best case scenario for them to exchange and go buy something else. Okay? From a selfish standpoint, as an agent, right? What's better? Take this property to market at the end of 2020 and have 90 offers, right? Or would it be better to try and take this client, instead of just selling their one house, what if I could make them an investor for me? And they're gonna purchase multiple properties throughout the course of our relationship together.
Be an investor.
Yeah, make them an investor.
It's gonna be more interesting investment for them with the higher property taxes and new property with the more maintenance, because probably it's gonna be multi-family and then you have to deal with everything, like management company.
Maybe,
Is it worse than?
maybe. We're gonna look at the cap rate that they're getting on this house today in a second. I'm gonna walk you guys through it. But my value, right, that I offer to
Yeah,
clients,
this is excellent.
whether it's
story.
if it's a pretended listing presentation, when I didn't even know what I was walking into or whatever, is that I tell people that I'll put their interest above everyone else's interest, and that nobody does better work than I do. It's actually like become part of my pitch. Like, I'm not on park benches, you do that stuff, you're not gonna get something in the mail from me, but this is how I build my business, by doing good work,
Yeah.
you know?
Works amazing. I made some similar recommendation to the lady. She moves to New York, but just for a year. And she has amazing house in Beverly Hills area. And I was like, let's see, maybe you shouldn't sell right now, because what if when you got in here, let's see the numbers. And she was surprised that I offered it, because usually real estate agents like,
They typically do, you know, and I don't blame them. That's like how you get paid. Selling real estate, you know? Like, a lot of agents don't want to deal with new development, long escrows and stuff like that, because you don't get paid. There's no assurance that it's gonna happen. So, that said, that's my value presentation. For each of you guys, you're all gonna have some part about yourself or the way that you choose to run your business that hopefully is gonna separate you from the rest of the pack. Maybe you're a better listener, maybe you better, you know, like, you know more about that neighborhood, you know more about the home. Maybe there's something about this client that is very specific, like they own the home in a trust, right? And you wanna be the person that does, like, there's a really good guy at Keller Williams Studio City that just does probate work. Which is when someone passes away, right? And it's not all the will and everything isn't all ironed out, right? And the trust documents aren't in order, then it goes to the court. And then the court hires this agent to sell the property on behalf of everyone that's gonna, all the kin, all the people that are gonna benefit from it. Yeah?
Okay, so a question, it's sort of off topic. Is it a conflict of interest if you have you pass the bar, you practice law?
100% not. Yeah. Do you have a,
I'm not going to law school. but
okay, Harvard?
No.
Okay.
I'm with my team.
Okay.
But my family does law. I was just wondering if there was any conflict of interest.
Not a conflict of interest. If you are charging your clients by the hour for your services, you know, then like they have their own fiduciary responsibility, just like you do as an agent, right? So, but no, there are a lot of people that wear both hats,
Okay.
for sure.
Okay.
It gets a little weird, you know, if you said like, well, if you want me to represent you, now I'm an attorney, and you're gonna get this, I need a retainer over here, and I'm gonna charge you $1,000 an hour. But then also when we go to close something, you know, so like, it's a little weird, but you have the same fiduciary responsibilities as anyone else. I've got a really good friend who's a big financial attorney
Okay.
and in his past life, and now he's a commercial loan broker.
Okay.
And it suits him really, really well because he comes across CFOs and
Right.
CEOs all the time, and he speaks that language and he understands what their challenges are gonna be
Right.
to financing in certain ways, and it's a really big value add for him. Jason Oppenheim's an attorney.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's still,
I don't think he still practices.
he's probably, I don't think he still practices at all, but like, a lot of people, for a lot of people, it's a big value add.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, so, good question though. So, think a little bit about what your value as an individual is going to be for your clients. Okay, and you've got to be willing to do the research to connect with your market, not just the brokers in your market, not just the developers and the flippers and the agents and the vendors, right? But the owners in that market and the people that live in that community. So if you want to get single family listings in Venice, you're gonna compete with Tammy Pardee all the time. She runs Venice. People call her the Queen of Venice. You type it in Google, it probably pops up. She carved out this little like area when Venice really started to blow up. She started her own brokerage. She's like maybe the top 2 or 3 teams, I would guess, in the state of California. Top brokerage run, I think, by a woman,
What is her name?
Tammy Pardee. 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 So if this is in your market, if your market is Venice or Marina Del Rey or whatever, you better have some kind of value to add to compete with Tammy Pardee. If you don't know who she is and that's in your territory, it doesn't matter how well you think you can articulate your value. It doesn't matter how succinctly you define it, how niche your business and your presentation is. If you don't understand what Tammy Pardee is doing and how her agents work and how they're set up and what they do to market to that community, then like you're gonna have a really hard time winning business. Unless someone has some kind of like a unique circumstance like these clients were in Vegas. It's just happenstance that this guy happened to be really savvy. He's a multifamily investor, the single family owner. And he knows, he heard of 1031 exchanges. He knew enough to not think like, okay, we're just gonna sell. Question.
Sometimes I believe that new agents, the value of us is exactly that we are new. Because all these star elite agents, they typically do not show up in open houses. They lazy to do all this advertising. And yes, this is brand, but the real estate agent like we are selling after them.
Availability is a very important thing for a lot of clients, you know, and being able to say, hey, listen, I'm the boots on the ground. I'm the one who's gonna do all the work.
Yeah.
Instead of some intern
Yeah.
on the Altman Brothers or someone that's somewhere else is a big value add when you're a new agent.
Yeah.
You have to balance that with, you don't wanna say, you know, I got all the time in the world, it's the only deal I've ever done. You know, I'll spend 12 hours at the open house, you know what I mean? So there's a little bit of like a game that you gotta play sometimes, say like, hey, I'm gonna be doing all the work for you, and without portraying like, I have all the time on my hands because this is my only opportunity. You know, that's something that you'll have to, that you balance with when you first get started. But that's my value. I do really good work, I'm very analytical, I am incredibly transparent. I feel like I do a good job setting expectations and saying like, hey, getting clients to understand very quickly what this process is gonna look like and trying to make them feel comfortable because they're informed. That's what I do a better job of. I, like I said, could spend a lot more time prospecting, adding relationships, going to more open houses, doing more cold calls and door knocking, following up with like old leads is not a strength of mine, but it's something that I'm working on. So like my value is that like you're gonna get a really high level of like customer service and care, and you're gonna understand everything that's going on. That's like my pitch. That's my value to clients. I also do say, if I take on a listing, that like I will hold all of the open houses personally myself. So like that's part of my value proposition presentation that is different than someone else. But it also means because I commit to that, like, I gotta know that I'm not gonna be there every Sunday for 40 weeks. You know, so when I talk to someone, I say that, hey, if you price it at market, right, and if you trust me, I'll be at every show. I'll do it all myself. Then some clients really respond well to that. Some clients like the whole, dog and pony show with like the 10 people behind them and all the, marketing collateral and stuff like that. Like that's important to some people, but it lends itself to thinking that this person's very successful. And like this is not gonna be a new thing for them. It's, part of the system. Like, they're just gonna, the team's gonna take over and all of a sudden it's gonna be sold. Some people like that pitch and that presentation. It's not part of my value because it's not what I do. It's just not. Right? So thinking about what your value is going to be, I started off today saying that these are not mutually exclusive, right? So like, what is your market? Where's your territory? Where is your first deal going to come from? And how do you plan on leveraging that deal into more leads and more business and more opportunity? You've got to do the research to get there, or else your ability to articulate your value is going to be really tough. Right? So I tell this guy, you need the 1031 exchange, don't sell. I've got to be able to put myself in a position where he feels like I know just a little bit more than me. Right? I don't want to put myself in a position where he thinks I'm talking down to him, like he doesn't have an idea of this stuff. Right? And that's why it's a balancing act to know like how sophisticated of a conversation am I going to have with this client or not. It depends on what's going on in that market. In Beverlywood, and particularly in that community, there are a lot of real estate families, there are a lot of people that are in the legal profession or in finance. It's a very common thing in this neighborhood to like negotiate commission and try to put agents against each other and be kind of non-committal with agents. It's a very common place in this neighborhood. It's a tough neighborhood to win business, right? It's an even tougher neighborhood to get like really good terms in your listing agreements or in your buy-side representation agreements with clients because they're a savvy group in this neighborhood. So our value presentation to this person was over the next 2 years, you're going to be left with a lot more money than if you just sold it today. So let's take a look at this house. We ended up listing it for $15,000 and we leased it out for $13,000. So let's look at like what the numbers actually look like on this home. I'm a little slow because I'm plugged in. Not eval, we want deal template, so let's pull it up. So what this guy said was like, well, this is really unique, but how do I know that what you're saying makes sense? Like, what am I actually going to collect? What am I going to get left with? How does this all make sense? So, well, what did all these other agents tell you that your home is worth? They said, oh, 4 million, 4.2, 4.1, 3, 4. Some of them want us to spend money. Some of them think it's ready to go. I said, okay, but about speaking, what's it worth? This is my handy dandy, like back of the napkin, kind of like underwriting. It's a little bit better than back of the napkin. But super fast. My little calculator, we're putting 13,000 a month in. Right? We see our gross rent. So if I wanted to calculate the growth, the GRM on this investment for a new buyer, we're going to say 4.2 million divided by 156,000 is going to give us our GRM. What cap rate are we going to get to on this property?
property is expensive.
We've got our NOI formula right here. And it might be a little hard for you guys to see, but it basically says M10, right? Our NOI formula and our cap rate up here. So we've got our gross rent on the year, which is our income that we're gonna receive, minus K5 times 0.0127, which is the purchase price times the property tax rate. So we got gross rent minus property taxes, minus our quote for insurance, $2,750, minus $4,800 is what I put in there for the maintenance annual. So on 13,000, we're at a 2.26 cap rate. Someone says, what's a cap rate? You say, if you were to purchase a property in all cash, right, this is what your net operating, your net income is going to look like at the end of the year. So we see down here, right, the NOI after all our expenses and everything like that, about 95 grand. So this isn't a home run, right? It's not like there's a whole line of people out the door signing up for a 2.26% return on the money. Certainly not at the end of 2020 when the market's going like this. Right? But the reason that people buy single family investments or they buy property in Southern California, particularly in Los Angeles, is not because they want really, really good cash flow. What's happened behind the scenes over these last 16 months is the value of this home's grown from about 4.2 million to 4.5 million. So if we bake in that extra 300,000 that they've made on paper, they're not paying taxes on, we refer to that as equity, right? We add that to this rental figure, then now your rate of return on this 4.2 million is really good. Or like probably another 6% a year, I would guess. Their realized rate of return between the cash flow cap rate plus the amount of equity that they've gotten over this time is probably something like 8%, maybe 8.25%. And that's why people buy real estate in LA. That's why people hold real estate, because just like these clients, they're paying their taxes on 1.347, not on 4.2. So when LA City passes legislation like Measure ULA, you guys familiar with that? Yeah. So ULA just passed, LA City only. It's a brand new tax starting in April. If it's
Mention.
what?
Mention taxes, right?
Yeah, it's referred to as a mansion tax, but it's not just for mansions. It's for land,
Yeah.
single, it's for multifamily, it's for gas stations, it's for anything, right? Something sells between $5 and $10 million. LA City only, you got 4% tax. So brand new tax that the voters in the city of Los Angeles signed up for, and the pitch is that that money is going to go towards affordable housing and homeless housing. That's like the whole idea. Right? 4% at $5 million. How much is that? 200 G's. So if you're going to sell your $5 million home in the next 6 months, you want to sell it
No.
now, or else selling it for $5 million is going to cost you another 200 grand in April next year. So these clients said, hey, we heard about this. Is this something we should be worried about? Is this something we should be nervous about? And I said, absolutely it is. Our plan all along when we first met with you guys was to sit down, right? We're going to avoid the capital gains on this, which for them would have been almost $1 million in capital gain taxes. We're going to save you $1 million by not selling it now. At the end of this lease, we're going to sell it and exchange you into something else. But what we're also going to do in this interim, right, while it's getting leased, we're going to get a contractor through there, and we're going to get all the plans and permits done for you to make some light renovations, and we can take it to market looking nice and neat and shiny, instead of like this kind of older yellow situation that we got going on in your house now. No offense, client. Where is one though? So just look at the outside, it's not the sexiest thing, right? That color's not like, but the backyard looks great. It's just a little dated. Right, there's our primary bedroom. No staging done, we didn't do any of that stuff. Got this great dining room, here's our kitchen. Right, we don't have this big open floor plan that's become so popular where you just kind of like walk into the living room and then you got the big dining area and you got the big kitchen and you just walk through it to these big, glass doors and you can see the backyard. That's missing here. It's missing because of this little wall that you can kind of see there. So this, on the other side of this wall is the kitchen. We even got a double door going through that, right? So if we want to sell this for the highest price per square foot, we're gonna blow that wall out and make this one big, huge open living area. So we said, look, we're gonna save you $1 million on capital gains. Trust us, you're gonna rent this out, we're gonna handle it all for you. Throughout that time, we're gonna get it ready for the like little flip we're gonna do. And we're gonna sell it at the top of the market with the layout everybody wants, recently updated. Now, like, this is genius. All you gotta do is wait 1 year. This tenant's gonna pay for the renovation that you should be doing to sell your home anyways. Then we're gonna save you $1 million in capital gains. You already own some multifamily. This is perfect. This is all lining up exactly the way that we want. So when we spoke to him 2 days ago, because we got this unsolicited offer from the family that has to have that home, he said, well, what do you think? Like, we heard about this mansion tax thing. I said, well, if you renew the lease again with this client, then you risk the value of this home going from 4.5 to north of 5 by the time we make the renovation. So like, that's gonna chew in to your proceeds for the exchange. So I would recommend that, yeah, we not renew this client's lease in a couple months, that we go through this and then we sell it. Because otherwise, you're gonna put $100,000 into it, we're gonna renovate it, it's gonna sell for $5,050,000, and it's gonna cost you $200,000. Like, that's just not gonna make sense. Wow, okay, thanks. So now we need to start looking at like where we're gonna put this. You said, but yeah, their property taxes are so low, what are we gonna do? Like, how is this gonna make sense? It said this home's actually worth 4.5. So now our cap rate's at 2. They're getting a 2% return annually in cash on their equity before the value of the home, right? Before we factor in the value of the land and the improvements from inflation and everything else that's happening in the area. So 2% return, nothing to write home about. It's really not very exciting. And what do we think is going to happen to this rental amount? Is it going to grow at the same rate that the value of the home is growing? The answer is no. Luxury homes, a lot of them, you're going to see them leased for the same price. Same $8,000 home in Calabasas last year is probably going to get $8,100, maybe $82 next year would be my guess, without changing it around, without putting some money into it. But the value of that home is going to go up a little bit higher. So the good news for you guys when you're talking to single family investors, when you're talking to sellers or real estate owners, right, is that over time in Los Angeles, the value of the real estate is kind of going like this. I should say the value of the real estate's going like that. At a rate something like this. And the rents are growing like this. So for clients like mine who purchased it forever ago, they're here, but they're only capturing the cash flow here. And then next year, it's gonna look like this. And they're gonna be up here. So this delta between the equity that they have in the home and the actual cash that they can generate on that, every single year, it actually goes down. Their cap rate in 5 years is gonna be even less than 2%. And this is why people sell multifamily in Los Angeles. That's why they don't hold it forever. It's because they've got a $3 million multifamily property. The cash flow is even lower than that. In rent control, it looks like this. Right? So when there's this huge difference between the amount of cash that they're able to collect and the equity in the home, people sell. And that's why they decided to do a 1031 exchange. So
So quick question,
yeah,
the main idea then of holding, waiting in here and renting out was just to have the rent cover the fixes?
the main idea is to avoid the capital gains tax they would pay if they had to sell.
But then they're doing it later anyway.
But in the 1031, it's deferred,
Okay,
so they just push it down the road.
so why can't you do a 1031 right away?
Because it's their primary residence, it's gotta be investment to investment.
Oh,
Can I have a question?
Yeah.
Does the rent control apply to multi-family homes and single family homes too?
In LA City and in LA County, there is, or I should say, in LA City, there is rent control.
Even if it's a single family?
Not if it's a single family home. For now. I think sometime the city's gonna come after single family rent control. Just, there are a lot of people that like own 1 or 2 homes in LA that lease one out. And when you say mansion tax, the public says, you know what, those people are rich anyways. We got a homeless problem. Let's have them pay for it. But I think what's gonna happen is next year, there's probably gonna be a new mansion tax at 4 million. It's supposed to get adjusted for inflation anyways, they say, but you just watch, come April 1st, all these homes start selling for 4.9995. So that they can avoid paying 200,000. You have a home that's worth 5.1, it's gonna sell for 4.9999. You're gonna avoid that tax. The city's gonna figure out some way to stop letting all these wealthy clientele skip out on paying their 4%. And the most logical way in my mind would be to have another one down below, so they don't feel like it's worth it. That's my 2 cents. I think the city's gonna keep coming for it. Every couple of years, so Prop 19, I think, was like 2 years ago, that just got voted down no in the state of California, which was going to reassess commercial property above $3 million, all of it. And it got voted no by like 50.8%, like 51%, just barely missed. All these people in LA County with $3 million commercial property that they've inherited from their family were sweating bullets. Because when you've got a $10 million multifamily building that you're paying property taxes on $1 million, well, the county reassesses that. If Prop 19 would have passed, now their property tax bill literally would go up 10 times. For really low cap rate, really low cash flow properties, it can put it upside down. In this upcoming climate, right, for investors of single family rentals or single family property or anything like that, anyone that signed up for an adjustable rate mortgage, particularly in like the last 5 or 6 or 7 years, these rates are gonna start adjusting, and they're not going to adjust down. They're gonna be adjusting up. So all these people that bought multifamily property in 2012, 2013 with 10-year loans and 30-year amortization at 4% interest, at 3.5% interest, they're gonna have a big balloon payment. And when you get a 10-year loan with 30-year amortization, it's not fully amortized, right? So it means at the end of 10 years, you haven't paid off the whole loan. So your choices are make the balloon payment, refinance, right, which, how are you gonna refinance your 3.5% loan right now into 7%? It's not really, refinancing isn't gonna be a very good option for a lot of these multifamily people. Refinancing is not gonna work. They are likely not gonna have the cash to make these balloon payments. So you're gonna see a lot of multifamily product in the next couple of years come on the market. A lot, like a tremendous amount. There's almost $1 trillion of multifamily debt rolling, like coming due in the next 2 years.
That's gonna cause a huge foreclosure problem.
I don't believe it's gonna cause a foreclosure problem because all these people that have had all this equity for so long, like, they've got enough cash in it to sell it and get their money back. Yes.
Talking about capital gain a lot.
Mhm.
I was just wondering, with the mansion tax, there's a bunch of people, I guess you could say of the middle class or tax mitigators. and
Oh, yeah.
Things of that nature, we call the capital gains.
Mhm.
And that's how my first transaction, I had a tax mitigator. But I'm wondering, for example, these people have none of those people in their circle. Because that's what you said, like.
To help them limit, yeah, so that's the key word, is that mitigate.
Yeah.
Right, if you defer it, it's all gone, right? You don't have, well, it's all gone until they sell, right? Until they sell and take the cash back. 1031 is the best way to mitigate your taxes. But if they had to sell and maybe, something happened, they passed away and the family wanted a creative solution to like come up with something, there's a whole branch of attorneys and accountants that specialize in that, for sure, particularly on the probate side. Yeah.
Who's gonna be the buyer for all these projects?
Who's gonna be the buyer for all of the multifamily deals?
Now, with such a low cap rate.
I think a lot of REITs and private equity will be buying it, but people that are gonna buy most of it are really large family offices. People that have $100 million worth of property that are free and clear. Those are gonna be the people that buy most of it. You're gonna see a bunch of like non-real estate professional people, doctors, attorneys, people in the entertainment industry that bought an 8 unit 10 years ago that may not have the cash to make the balloon payment. They don't have this big war chest of property that they can borrow against. Maybe they're not like really high net worth, banking clientele. Like they're gonna have a hard time refinancing it. And I've got a bunch of clients that are just ready to gobble it all up. There's a ton of investors that waited for this crazy tank in the market in COVID. Everyone that said they missed out on 2008, 2009, 2010, there's all this cash sitting on the sidelines. People that like sold their stocks and their bonds and things when the market was going down, that were flush with cash, waiting for this big real estate crash. Now they're thinking this might be it. And those are the people that I think are gonna gobble up all these $2, $3, $4, $5 million multifamily properties. People that are flush with cash. They're real estate savvy. That's my opinion.
Now it's a window of opportunity for us, because single family house market over, but it's stagnation.
I don't know. I think it depends. I mean, luxury is already taking a hit, but I don't see on a price per square foot basis, these like 2,000 square foot homes around where this office is going down in purchase price yet.
And whoever is renting these multi-family homes, they might want to buy a single property because, the big apartment buildings are sold out now, tenants have to pay.
They might,
It might.
if rent control gets tougher and these multifamily buildings get reassessed, then the buyer's market is gonna go up.
I was living in a building in West Hollywood 90069. So the tenant, the landlord is not renewing lease right now.
Mhm.
Private equity investor bought this new old building and it's a rent control. He's not renewing lease. If the lease is expiring, there are empty units, and what he's trying to do, if everyone leaves and if there are only few tenants left, complete them all.
Yeah.
And renovate it and charge for rent.
Yeah.
Because everybody's paying the old rent, they don't want to leave.
Getting, when you talk about cap rates and GRM as like a multiplier to get to the purchase price, in Los Angeles, in LA County or Southern California, when you move the cap rate just a little bit, so if the cap rate goes from, is at 4%, basically you take that NOI and you can multiply it by 25, right, to get to the purchase price. It's the same thing as dividing the NOI by 0.04. It's the same thing as multiplying it by 25. Right? So, or sorry, yes, So then you times it by 25. That cap rate gets a little bit better. For every additional 25 cents that a landlord makes, they can sell it for another $1 at a 5 cap. So if you can pay a tenant 100 grand to leave, that's paying 1,000 a month in rent, and the new tenant's gonna pay 3,000, you're gonna use that same multiplier to from 2,000. So that unit is now 4 times more valuable than $100,000.
Yeah, what's the formula for this?
GRM is purchase price divided by the annual gross rent
GRM. Okay, purchase price.
divided by gross rent. And your cap rate is your NOI
Divided by purchase price divided by gross rent.
yes, annually
And then the cap.
is your NOI, your net operating income. Call it profit, start, divided by the purchase price. Yes,
What's the legal way to tell tenants?
but there's not a lot of them right now. Right now, you can't do anything. If they don't pay rent, you can't do anything. They run a business out of there.
But it's stopped in July, right? They
It's
can't-
supposed to stop then in January, and all these.
And what about compensating them to make them?
Totally
even
different.
That's
Totally
that's allowed.
It is still allowed. It's called the cash for keeps program.
But they didn't compensate the amount of money.
Just moving costs.
It depends. You guys should look up all
Where,
this stuff for the RSO. You can Google it, LA City RSO, it's the rent stabilization ordinance. And you should familiarize yourself with rent control. We're not gonna get into it today, because I can probably talk to you guys about it for 10 hours. Yes,
How would you prospect with multifamily owners?
very difficult. Okay, because investors don't have the same type of motivation that single-family homeowners have. Why does someone sell their home?
children.
They're moving.
More than.
They're gonna move, right?
Don't most people move every 4 years?
No.
Every 4 to 6? No?
I would say most people, yes, single-family homeowners in LA, no. Usually like in your database, I'd probably say like something like 5 to 10% of them are gonna do something each year. So that would mean one is gonna move every 10 years or so. It also depends on what type of neighborhood you're in. If you're in Mar Vista, there's like, or like a neighborhood that goes like this, like Westchester, just north of the airport, like super good elementary schools. Westchester, I think like something like 15 or maybe 18%, 15-18% have sold in the last 2 years, which is crazy, Yeah, I think it's people sell when the neighborhood when it blows up. They've been thinking about selling, the market's hot, But in some of these communities, like in Beverlywood, a lot of these people will buy, and then if they
They
go,
never leave project.
or they don't sell, they lease it out,
Which area you think now that you can name the upcoming areas?
I think there's a lot of value in the mid cities. So stuff like north of San Vicente, south of Santa Monica, still west of Crenshaw, east of La Cienega. I think that's probably like where there's
Thousand Oaks,
good value. What's that?
Thousand Oaks.
I think Thousand Oaks and West Exposure are a little bit, a little too far. It's not dense enough for me.
Westchester, you mentioned.
Westchester, I think, is overpriced. I think homes in Westchester are gonna be some of the first communities to go down.
How do you feel about Larchmont?
Larchmont's great, like it. Larchmont's beautiful. Like if I can buy a house like these big, long, gigantic lots, give me an HPOZ. Personally speaking, like I'll take all the character, the tutors, and all the weird stuff and the weird colors, like, and I want it to stay like that. No moderns, like that's my personal preference. Yeah, love Larchmont. I've got a couple homes in Hancock Park, that I'm trying to sell, which like, love that community. It's a really interesting community. It's also a large Orthodox Jewish area, but it's blended which is so funny with like the entertainment community and a lot of like young professionals, a lot of, because like Cedar Sinai is over there, so you got like a lot of young physicians and the entertainment community mixing with like the Orthodox Jewish community kind of heading east. And it's really funny because you hold an open house there for a $3 million home and you'll have like a husband and wife physician come in in scrubs looking like, oh, like we gotta blow this out, this is too old, I want concrete floors and glass, whatever. And the next person will be like a really large Orthodox family, it's gonna walk through 7 people that needs the separate dining area, you know, they like the closed kitchen and so it's just, it's an interesting community, but I love Larchmont and Hancock Park, I think there's still good value there. It's a little too far east for some people, it's kind of inconvenient for the 405. You know, the 10 is getting worse and worse traffic, so like people like that community in that neighborhood because it's kind of in its own little secluded pocket. There's no freeway over there.
You can like walk pretty much.
Yeah, you can walk a lot of places like Osteria Mozza is one of my favorite restaurants is right there, like off near Larchmont. So I like the community. But how I just gave my little like look on Larchmont, you guys have got to be able to do a lot better in those neighborhoods. Because if those clients at Glenville were ready to sell, I'm not ready to secure that listing. If they were like, we've got to sell it, we needed the money or something else, I wasn't prepared for that listing presentation. I wasn't ready, I didn't have all the stories about all the transactions and the agents and everything that's gonna happen in Beverlywood when we stumbled into this listing presentation, right? So what this means, and I brought this up last time, and I'm gonna say it like every time, is that you guys need really, really, really good stories. Right, and I think maybe should like shoot for like 6 to 8 elite stories. Where you know all the details, everything is understood. You've got, you know, like all the data, you can back it all up, right? So on Monday, we talked about Calabasas and these single family rentals. And what did we say that we came up with price per square foot in Calabasas? Purchase price. And that was about $650, right? That's not good enough to secure business in Larchmont. When you go to, or in Hancock Park, when you go to sell one of these like $8 million homes on a 20,000 square foot lot or something like that. It's not, that's not gonna work. Oh, it's about 650 a square foot. Rent's about 0.25% on purchase price. Not good enough. So if you didn't go to the new listings in your market on Tuesday, and you didn't talk to those agents, and you didn't walk that neighborhood, you don't know what kind of margin developers and flippers are making, you don't know the agents in that area. If you're in Venice, you don't know Tammy's last listings or closings, or does Tammy Pardee list stuff, you know, right at the value? Or does she overprice it? Or does she underprice it? Like, what's the story that's happening in your market? How fast can you develop these 6 to 8 stories about your market, right? That are gonna lend itself or like be ammo for you so that you can overcome these objections that new agents are gonna face. So what are the objections that you guys are gonna get to being a new agent?
Inexperience.
Track record, okay? So inexperience, but what does that mean to a seller? If you're inexperienced, or if you haven't sold a home yet?
It's a big chance to do mistake.
Yeah.
Miss the goal.
Yeah, it's trust, right? I helped the agent in this office write an offer on a multifamily property that was on the market in like a pinch. She had this really sophisticated client, wanted to like write an offer non-contingent. She just kind of said, oh, these are the circumstances, and, you know, I'm nervous about it. He was traveling at the time, he was supposed to like buy it, whatever. I said, look, I got no problem helping you out with this, it's gonna take me 2 seconds, and I know this guy, he's in my database, he's a very large multifamily owner. I'm sure he's done his own due diligence and this is gonna work out. They ended up submitting the offer like way lower than the asking price, didn't get a response, didn't get countered, didn't get anything. The listing agent was like upset, you know, you're gonna get fired, basically. And she said, oh, wow, this is a really big learning experience for me. And immediately I was like, okay, but can you tell that story to the developer that you meet at our party? Can you tell the story of this property to some other potential investor or client? She was like, oh, yeah, some things, but it's going to be my recommendation that you guys get way into the weeds on every single one of these opportunities that you're close to. So if you go to an open house and it's in your market, don't just go there and feel like it's overpriced. Give yourself an opinion, spend time to know exactly how much you think it's worth and exactly what you would have done differently for the listing. I've got a client now who is completing a home in a few weeks, and they've got another listing for a very similar new construction home in West LA. And that property has kind of fallen down, 3.2, 3.1, 3.50, 2.995, right? So like, I could just go, oh man, bummer, looks like they overpriced it. Or I could spend 20 hours looking at all the new construction on the market, right? I'm not gonna spend 20, but I need to be able to tell the story about that property as best as I can. It's a 4-bed, my listing coming out is 5 beds. So what do I think the benefit is of having the 4-bedroom with the loft versus the 5-bed, right? There's gonna come a time in the next few weeks where I'm gonna start touring this home a lot. And I need to be prepared to tell a good story about that property. Because my home's coming on the market at 3.1. So if I just go, yeah, well, you know, it was a little overpriced, like that might not really be good enough to overcome this objection that they have about my price. So when I say like, you gotta connect with your market, right? Or Keller Williams says this. And I say, go to the open houses, do the door knocking, developers, organizations, whatever. What it really is gonna come down to is these 20 conversations. Do I want the first time that I talk to potential buyers or agents about my home, my listing, do I want the first conversations I have about it to be with the people that might potentially buy it? What this does, and like what all this extra time does, it's like real estate practice. And then when you're at the open house or you're walking your buyers through a property, that's like the game. So you have to be willing to do this extra work to put this in here, right? So that if you get an opportunity, hopefully to pitch against Tammy Pardee in Venice, you've got to be able to define and articulate your value a little bit better than, well, Tammy's really busy, like she's not gonna be the one to hold the open houses, I'm gonna do it. But that's an average or a good response. But how can we make that response a little bit better? If someone says, well, Tammy honestly, like, I know you know my brother and he said I should talk to you, but like, we're probably gonna go with Tammy Pardee. What is your value? Is it gonna be good enough for you to just say, well, I'll do all the open houses myself? I'm gonna say likely not. It might. But what are we gonna say? What are you gonna present in your listing presentation? What are you gonna explain about yourself that's gonna help you secure that business? And I hope it's something that Tammy can't do herself also, other than just sitting in the open house. Are you gonna look at off-market transactions. And if we know Tammy's really, really, really busy, and she's got all these relationships, and she's got all these buyers, and she's got all this stuff, how can you articulate your value so that you can compete with Tammy Pardee for this listing? It's hard to know. You won't really know. Now, what would I say? I'd have to really do a lot of research in Venice. I'm gonna have to form some kind of special opinion on some limited information. I might talk about zoning in LA City. I might talk about new developments in the area. Right? What research or homework or education am I willing to put myself through that Tammy might not have the time for? That's what I'm gonna shoot for. So wherever your market's gonna be, if you want to sell in Larchmont, like you need to make yourself an expert in Larchmont so that you can tell an elite level story to any of those potential sellers or buyers. There's a lot of agents in Los Angeles. There are a lot of people with real estate licenses. So like, what are you gonna do different? Why is someone gonna give you the listing instead of me, or your mentor, or Tammy Pardee, or Josh Altman, or whoever, Aaron Kerman, and like whoever it is. And what's your particular value? For me, my value is that like I'm gonna overanalyze it. My mentor will tell you, or my coach, because I'm gonna spend too much time. But I'm gonna show up and know stuff about that neighborhood that the other agents are. That's my value. That's how I define my value. How do I articulate that to the clients? It's very difficult, right? But for me, this is all in my listing presentation. I'm showing them these are the off-market properties that sold. This is why they sold off-market. This is who bought those type of properties. The type of clients that come to the open house are going to look like this. They're going to be this demographic, this age. This is what's going to be important to them. And this is what the data shows. Serena brought up a really good point. Like, don't a lot of people just do like good or average work and then articulate it really well? Like, yeah, a lot of agents do. You're going to come across a lot of people that BS their way in and out of listings and closed deals and stuff like that don't do good work, but they're slick negotiators, or they're really savvy, or they dress really well, or put off a really good presentation, but you don't necessarily do that good work. Like, you're going to lose business to people that are a little flashier than you are. Some people are going to lose business because they're too flashy for those particular clients. So what is your value? How does that fit with your market? And then how can you develop stories that are going to help people trust you and feel like maybe you're not that inexperienced? For this particular agent where we submitted this multifamily property, we walked through the GRMs and cap rates and stuff like that. She looked at the comms. She learned about Santa Monica rent control and LA City rent control. Now she feels like she can tell an above average story about this multifamily building and this buyer that she got. It's not elite yet. She's still got to do more homework. She's got to understand the area a little bit better. And she's got to know a little bit better about, she's also brand new, right? How to articulate her value, and not just articulating your value. I'm going to say like, and articulate your value versus everyone else. Because that's what it's really about. When you talk to someone and they find out that you're in real estate, or your cousin hits you up, or someone hits you up on Instagram and is like, hey, like so-and-so is looking at homes, I gave them your number, and you say, well, give me their number, you call them. What they're looking for is, why should I actually hire you? Most of these people, when they go to have a conversation about real estate, have already come to the conclusion that they are going to buy or sell. And like pitching people in Los Angeles that you come across that don't own real estate on the value of purchasing real estate is not very difficult. I don't think you're going to come across too many people that think buying real estate is a bad idea. If they do think it's a bad idea, it's because they think they have some other better use for the money. But overwhelmingly, people want to live in a home, they want to do that, right? So you're not closing them on buying or selling property, you're closing them on using you instead of someone else. So like, what do each of you think is a strong suit for you? What's a strength about you? Go first.
Learn their motivation. What's the motivation for buying or selling, and kind of pitch your stories based on that.
So your talent, right, or like what you feel like you are good at is uncovering motivation from potential clients.
Yes, because there might be reasons. I have a friend, she referred me to a company, they have a $3 million budget for a home. They've been looking for many years, but this particular company, they just want Wastu, and that's something,
They want what?
Wastu, it's basically how the house should be laid out. The bathroom should be on the northeast, and the pool should be on this, so the
Feng shui.
direction,
Huh.
feng shui, yeah.
Okay,
So,
Okay.
yeah.
I was gonna say like feng shui.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's.
okay, but similar. Okay,
So I can use that motivation and pitch my story. Okay, I got a couple, I have to do my research, I have to show them a couple of samples. I
okay.
have to go on.
So uncovering motivation.
And yeah,
Okay. What do you think?
Right now, I'm still just trying to determine exactly where I fit in this business. But I think, strong point would be pretty reliable. Learn the business.
Okay, okay. That's, a lot of people find a lot of value in that, just doing what you say you're gonna do. In LA is, a lot of people say stuff that they don't do it, but I'd say that's a good characteristic. Nikki,
Yes.
what do you think is like something, like what's a good strength about your, like what's a strong characteristic for you that's gonna help you be successful?
To help make me successful. I think I'm a good communicator.
Okay,
I think that,
how so?
well, because I feel like I'm very good at speaking with people. I know how, I have a lot, and then I'm very social. I have a lot of, my sphere of influence is huge. So I feel like that also as an asset to me, because when I have clients and somebody needs this or this or that, I have all those point of
You've got the people
contact,
for it.
and it's just one phone call. So it's kind of like I'm like a one-stop.
Having a really large network that can solve any type of their problems is also a really valuable thing. That's something that I'm trying to develop a little bit better. I've got a go-to person for each thing, but when that go-to person isn't available, sometimes it
Yes,
backfires
yeah,
on me. Yeah, so that's really good.
Yeah, same with that. Huge sphere.
Just the same thing, move on.
No,
Okay.
we're different, like we work together, but
Okay,
we have a huge sphere and pretty much all the way up until 8 million I can get a client,
oh, okay.
so.
So you got a gigantic pool of buyers.
Yeah,
Is why you're really good.
helping my family out too, is why I started real estate, they invest a lot.
Okay, so you got personal experience with investors and you got a gigantic pool of buyers.
Yes, I close to referrals.
Okay, that's good. Congratulations.
Yay.
Okay. What do you think?
I
And
think-
these are all different so far, right? Well, like you guys have big spheres, but she said effectively sphere plus communication. You said sphere plus family and buyers, network, right?
I think similar but different, because communication is my main skill,
Okay.
and I'm experienced but in different country, I'm here only 2 years. And yeah, people just love me, and I was able to build a huge network for 2 years to build the kind of like VIP service for my clients. So if you want to do this, go there. And the Russian community is huge here. That I'm trying to reach more.
Okay.
more people that
Okay. You're gonna be the go-to luxury service Russian realtor.
I believe that
Okay.
my thing is the build of trust. So people want to have a kind of my person in the city.
Okay. That's a good person to be.
It's also communication, but
Yeah.
just different because I'm new in the city, I'm in the country.
Sure. Okay. Jen?
I was gonna share what came to mind, because I'm not sure how to pitch myself yet.
That's
but-
right. Next, we're gonna talk about something you need to work on. So,
So first thing that came to mind, I'm very empathetic. I feel like I can feel people and relate to a lot of people. I always do my best in everything. And then I have a really strong team, so I feel like I have a big support system.
Okay.
That would be.
Okay, now we'll go in reverse order. I'll go first. What I said I need to work on more of is how I present myself to clients, which is like, I just am lazy, for lack of a better word. You know, I try to dress as down as I can, you know, like even my wife is like, will you get a new pair of shoes? Even if you just wear these like Adidas Sam Smiths, yours are dirty, can you finally just, you know, little, she knows to pick her battles, but like, I don't come across as someone that has sold a lot of real estate and makes a lot of money selling real estate. And for some people, that's important. For a lot of people,
Like the
I don't-
presentation.
yeah, so like, that's what I need to work on. You know, getting dressed up and having the collateral and all the other stuff so that I can do that. It's not something that I do very well. I struggle, you know, to like demand business and say that I'm the best, you know? A lot of times there's a certain type of people that really like that.
Yeah.
You know, there's certain clientele, like I said, that if you're not flashy, you don't show up in a nice car and it's not
Somebody
clean.
told me not to drive my car actually when I see new clients, because they were like, that's gonna work against you.
It may and it may not, depends on the client.
Oh, okay.
If you're gonna sell a $10 million new
And
construction
then it's-
home with a view in West Hollywood and you pull
Yeah.
up in a, like, I drive a 5 Series 2012. You know, it's not an impressive car in Los Angeles. It's like, not by any stretch of the imagination. A lot of people told me that I need to drive a nicer car. What kind of car do you drive? Do you
I have a
mind?
Lamborghini.
Okay, you got a Lamborghini, so some people, you know, you get out of the Lamborghini dressed up, like, they're gonna be like, nah,
Yeah.
you're not for me.
That's
Some
why I
people,
try to tone it down.
yeah, no, seriously, okay.
Seriously.
So what I'm working
I'm trying
on,
to wear turtlenecks.
I'm working on my personal appearance and presentation when I get to more listings, you know, something that I am like making a conscious effort to do. So what's an area of opportunity for you? Let's not call it a weakness, it's called an area of opportunity.
I've already been working on it, like, just getting out of my comfort zone, because I have been quite permitty in the past.
Okay,
Also, I feel like I could get better at, quick math.
okay. Quick math is something that clients really appreciate, you know? They say like, you're around with a buyer and they go, so what would my mortgage look like on this house? And if you can't go, okay, you're gonna put down 20% on 3,600,000, you're gonna borrow 2.4, you're probably
Oh,
looking at
gosh,
like
this
14
sounds-
14 or 15,000 a month. That makes him sound like, oh, all of it, he's done lots of loans, $2.4 million. You know what I mean? Quick math is a
There's
good
a
one.
red thing, you know.
Not you yet. What's an area of opportunity for you?
Oh,
You said you've only been here for 2 years, maybe knowing
I
blocks and,
already gave up with the quick math.
okay.
What do you think?
Well, if you've only been here for 2 years, my guess is that you don't know Beverly Hills is north of Olympic and that LA City is south of Olympic.
I would like, improve my
Okay, improve your English. That's a really good one.
because the better you speak, the bigger is the more it's open.
I totally agree with that.
I think for both of us. it's
So just for you,
I would say staying consistent.
okay?
I-
Not about developing your business really,
No,
about,
literally staying consistent, because
Okay.
I will close deals, and then I travel the months, and just, I feel like this is a long, yeah,
yeah, you gotta
it's
play the
cool,
long
but-
game. It's a slow,
100%. I just
Yeah.
need to be consistent and.
Okay.
Realize this is like, I wanna do several professions.
you got career ADD.
I do, I like to
Okay.
make the money like in a lot of different ways,
Okay,
but just focusing on this and all.
I've got pipeline ADD big time. I love learning. I love doing new deals. So if someone says like, hey, I've got an opportunity to sell this or that, it might not be a good use of my time. If I, but if I haven't done that, if I haven't sold something like that before, I'm like, and it's like pipeline ADD is like what I would call it. My pipeline's a little. all
Maybe
over
you're
the
in the
place.
peak of your career and you just,
No way, I'm not in the peak of my career. I got years left. I'm still going. Board is not for me. I'm one of your like, before I was even in real estate, I was always looking and checking out real estate. I'll always be obsessed with real estate. It's just me. It is what it is.
remember my situation in Moscow when I used to be head of department in a big international company. And the only one interest left to do this specific and really tough, but a really high level and demanding clients. This is only one thing I love to do last years in my country. Otherwise, like
A lot of agents, I talked to a really heavy hitter at Coldwell Banker, like a year ago, that was like, I'll hire you to build my team. I was like, why do you need me to do it? He's like, I can't do another,
Yeah.
and I was like, what do you mean you can't, like this, like, and so, yeah, like being bored with it, feeling like kind of developing is a problem for some people.
For me, I would like to say like my time management. I do a lot of different things for work. I make quick money different ways, and I'm like, if I just focus on my real estate, I know I can make bigger money doing one thing, closing like a big transaction versus being here. It's like I lose focus because I'm all over the place. I can never just focus on one thing.
Yeah.
So for me, I want to manage my time more into my real estate versus the other things that distract me.
100%, and if you've got income coming in from something else, doing real estate period is a big leap of faith. And so it's hard to say like, okay, is taking this buyer around the best use of my time when I could be making money doing something else?
Yeah.
When there's real opportunity costs, it's really clear, it can be tough. It's tough for a lot of people. But also I wouldn't say for everyone, but for a lot of people that have made the transition in real estate full-time from doing something else successfully, like
They're probably
they
doing-
leverage that in really big ways,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. That's what my mom always says.
Yeah,
I guess I could probably be more outgoing and join.
what?
Be more.
More outgoing,
Yeah,
Yeah.
join organizations where I can interact with people. And my problem is I don't go to night sweats, but I don't drink alcohol.
it's okay.
So.
You wanna be the sober realtor?
Yeah, I would never ride in a car with someone that's been drunk and it's been alcohol.
Okay,
I'm always,
that might not, prohibit you from doing business that you
Yeah.
don't drink alcohol, but there are a lot of people that make connections in, nightlife, clubs, bars, and whatever.
my
Parties.
first was we made it just to like.
Yeah,
Games and maybe eat some food,
okay.
that's it, so I got.
So being a little bit more outgoing, maybe
More
like,
social.
sounds like you and I don't have the network that these two got, so like, that's something I.
You can give me the dictionary.
Yeah, let's do some deals. Okay, cool. All right.
I guess for me, it would be marketing, if that's a weakness, because,
Totally weakness. I don't do any marketing. I should.
yeah. And so I can do open houses. I can do door knocking, cold calling. I can talk, I can network. I go out enough. I know people, I talk about real estate. But marketing like flyers or Instagram, I just don't feel that much, but I'm forcing myself now.
You got to.
Yeah.
It's like,
Because you never know, and I just posted, I went to an open house in West Holiday, I posted. And the amount of DMs I got, I never expected.
yeah, I've seen like, I've just off of like my limited amount of Instagram that I use, it's very limited. I've done deals, like, and in my personal experience, some of it's because I moved from like commercial and investment, and like now I like do a little bit of both. And so a lot of people have been like, oh, I didn't know you were doing that. I thought you were selling pharmacies in Florida. I didn't know that you would do that,
Also,
so.
I want to get better and selling different, like when I know, when a friend of mine told me they'll not work with you, literally he told me, I want to get better at that.
overcoming the objection about being in a different
in
neighborhood.
different areas
Yeah.
where people just buy real estate from certain people, and I wanna get better at that too.
You need to have a really good Glendale. story. So like, just, you can do that with your research, okay?
I have a question, like, how would you suggest choosing a market within LA? Or can you just be an expert of LA?
It's gonna take you forever to be an expert in LA. I would, like, the red book or anything is gonna say to like, start with where you live or start with your market center, but that doesn't really fly. I would say like, where is your sphere of influence hanging out? Where do they live? Where are you gonna spend most of your time? Because the likelihood of you running into someone or getting a lead out of your friends or your family or your network or whatever is gonna be the places that you spend most of your time. So if you wanna, you already have a little bit of a leg up, like she said, she needs to get a Glendale story. Wherever you live, you know a little bit more about wherever you live than Silver Lake. Maybe you live in Silver Lake, I don't know, but you see what I mean? So like, if you're asking me, where should I farm, what should I go? I know nothing about Holmby Hills, Nichols Canyon, like Mount Olympus, Laurel. I know next to nothing about those neighborhoods because none of my friends and family or sphere are buying property that's that expensive. The people that can afford it in my sphere still don't buy houses there for that amount of money. Like, for argument's sake, should it be Truesdale? You know, where like the average price of the home is probably $25 million. Maybe, if you're gonna, but then the rest of your value presentation, right, needs to fit that. You need to hang out with the place that those people hang out. You need to get, you're gonna do your prospecting, the vendors that you talk to are gonna be trust attorneys and tax mitigation attorneys and expensive CPAs and stuff like that. I would say like, look at your disposition, guess where your first deal is gonna come from. That's what I would do. Metrics though, you gotta get 1,200 unique property owners in your database as soon as you can. Unique owners,
What is,
Property owners?
yeah,
oh, wow.
you need 1,200 people that are unique owners, so not one person, guy or gal that owns 20 properties. This is the number that you can manage, 1,200. You're gonna talk to 400 of them a month. 400 a month, means once a quarter, you're gonna talk to each one of these people. You follow that? 400 a month?
But property owners is different than just like friends that don't own.
Yep.
So how are you meeting all these people? Like your open houses or door knocking?
And there's local down there.
Yeah, cold calling, door knocking, right? And just because your friends don't own property, doesn't mean your friends don't have friends that own property.
And it's illegal to go down.
And it's, yeah, non-solicitation. So I got the Glenville owners in here from the referral from the people that we sold the home on Montemar for. And we met them because my partner Sammy was buying a mezuzah, which in like the Jewish communities, this little thing that goes on the door. He bought the mezuzah from that guy as a closing gift for a client that we sold a home on Rexford to. So Sammy did a really good job, met this, introduced himself as like, hey, I'm now in real estate. He's an attorney otherwise. Said, now I'm in real estate, right? And if you guys need help with real estate, I'm your person. You trust me, you know me, you like me, I'm your guy. So this guy at his temple said, yeah, okay, cool. I'll use you, Sammy. I know you're an attorney, you're smart, right? You've been like coming here, you're a family man. Like, I like you. I'll help you buy this house. And Sammy took that one relationship, this guy named David. He bought a home on Rexford. Right? We turned that Rexford listing. We bought the closing gift for that buyer on Rexford we turn that into the listing from the guy that made the closing gift for Montemar. Montemar, we've got referred to the Glenville House, which is now a single family rental that we manage. And we will also sell that here in a handful of months. That tenant we represented and is a client of ours. We manage his triplex in mid-cities. Hopefully he's gonna be selling that soon. But when we go to sell this house on Glenville, we hold open house. How many people are gonna come through there? Probably a lot. And I'm gonna try and grab all of their contact information and make them clients as best as we can. Then when they go to exchange, they're gonna buy something. And I'm gonna meet a new agent that's buying something. I'm gonna add to my investor's portfolio. And I'm gonna build a new story, right? For anyone says, I'm thinking about moving to Vegas, and now I'm gonna say, listen to this amazing story about what happened with two of our clients that have moved to Vegas. If you need a recommendation or you want a referral, right? Each of these clients will talk to you about my character, my work ethic, right? And what we were able to achieve for them in their homes. So now I've got 30 more people from Sammy's buddy at Temple. So when you guys go through leads next week and you're talking about leads and strengthening relationships in the class next week, think about using those leads and the relationships that you have to develop stories. So like where if you're not exactly sure where you spend most of your time, where your first deal is going to come from, what about your friends in your sphere? Where do they all hang out?
So just thinking my sphere, like everyone lives so spread out. Like LA is so big and I grew up in LA and I have like people living all the way from Ventura to Orange County, but like I don't have any hotspot. And I've personally lived in so many areas too. So I don't even feel like I have my own hotspot.
Yeah, well, you need to make one. Let's pretend you didn't grow up and live in LA. And you moved here from Chicago. You guys, yeah, from Russia.
I also.
You've got to start. You're not starting out at, you're gonna start out at 0 unique owners. Right? You got to build your 1,200 from scratch. So what area do you pick? If I were you, I would choose a high velocity upcoming neighborhood. If you would have just door knocked in Westchester 2 years ago, you'd have made a couple $1 million. It's hot, it's on fire. Up and coming neighborhood, like property values went boop.
What's it up and coming?
I would say something where you see the price per square foot going like this. Oh, you want me to tell you which neighborhood I think is up and coming? Culver City East is peaking right now.
And isn't Inglewood where the SoFi Stadium is? Isn't it going? It is?
Down.
Really?
Yeah, historically, when a new stadium or a big event comes in, everyone buys things and it goes like this and it goes.
Well, I didn't know.
Well, and it's because Inglewood instituted rent control in COVID, city council did. So like investors just went, no new development, no new construction. And so like all the retail got super expensive, but people aren't hanging out down at SoFi like everyone thought they would. They're not.
Yeah.
Like, oh, so close to SoFi Stadium, you see that? Like, that's not a benefit for you. That means you get crap traffic a few days a week.
Can you list more up and coming neighborhoods?
More up and coming neighborhoods. Where would I, if I were to launch my real estate career, where would I go? I would look at Palms. I still think Culver City has a good margin.
I went to school in the Palms area, so that.
Yeah, then I'd look at that. There's like only a handful of agents that have really good market share. Like I feel like Palms, Culver City West. All right, see you guys. Oh yeah, I'm past 4 o'clock.
You said where?
Yeah, I would say Culver City West, but you know what, just look at sold homes between 1.5 and 2.5 in the last 60 days, and it's gonna become glaringly obvious where this is going on, you know? That's where I would start. All right, I'm done. You guys will have class next week.
That's,
No,